I spent 6 months helping a woman care for her paralyzed husband. I brought groceries, fixed meals, even cleaned his wounds. She used to cry in my arms, thanking me for being her only friend, and I believed her. Until one night, I pulled back my bedsheets and found her necklace, the same one I had helped her untangle from her husband's wrist months ago. She didn't just betray me, she walked right into my home and into my marriage. If you've ever trusted someone, only to realize they were playing you the whole time, then you'll feel every second of what I went through. Stick around, and if this story hits you deep, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You won't want to miss what's coming. I still remember the exact way the sheets felt under my fingers that night. Cool, clean, perfectly tucked in. I had just gotten off a double shift, dead on my feet, and all I wanted was to crash. I pulled back the blanket, fluffed my pillow, and there it was. A necklace. A delicate silver chain with a tiny ruby heart. Definitely not mine. I stared at it for a second, confused. Maybe I dropped it while doing laundry? No, I don't own anything like that. Not my style. Then I picked it up, and my stomach dropped. I had seen that necklace before. It belonged to Naomi. Naomi, the woman I had been helping for months. Naomi, whose husband had a stroke and was left half paralyzed. Naomi, who cried in my kitchen and told me I was the only person who hadn't abandoned her. I cooked for her, cleaned her house, brought her groceries with my own money, sat with her husband while she took naps. I even covered her night shifts when she couldn't face being at the hospital anymore. And now, her necklace was in my bed? My mind raced. Maybe she dropped it when she came to visit? But why would she be in my bedroom? And why under the sheets? I stood there frozen, heart pounding like a war drum. Everything in me didn't want to believe it. But deep down, I already knew. There was no reason for that necklace to be in my bed unless someone had been there, under the covers, with my husband. I sat down on the edge of the mattress, holding that stupid necklace, feeling like my chest was caving in. My home, the place I built with love, trust, and years of hard work, suddenly felt invaded, violated. And the worst part? I didn't even feel angry at first. I felt embarrassed, like I had been the joke, the fool, the charity case they both laughed about after I left the room. I kept thinking back to all the times Naomi had come over to say thank you. She'd bring me cookies, smile, even hug me. Meanwhile, my husband had been acting strange for weeks, distracted, jumpy when I walked in the room. But I had chalked it up to work stress. Silly me. Holding that necklace in my hand, I knew one thing for sure. Whatever was going on, it had been happening right under my nose, in my own bed. And suddenly I wasn't tired anymore. I was wide awake, and I was going to find out everything. It's strange how betrayal doesn't always hit like a slap. Sometimes it seeps in like cold water through a crack in the wall, slow, invasive, relentless. That's how it felt that night as I sat in the dark, necklace in my palm, staring at the walls I'd once painted with love. I met Naomi through my job. I'm a home care assistant, and her husband, Eric, had suffered a massive stroke that left him partially paralyzed and unable to speak clearly. They were struggling, emotionally, financially, logistically. The agency assigned me to help for a few hours each week, but it quickly turned into more. I offered to stay late, brought them home-cooked meals, used my own gas to pick up prescriptions when their insurance lapsed. And Naomi? She was broken. She cried easily, clutched my hand when I reassured her, called me the only person who understood. We bonded over coffee at her kitchen table. Sometimes we talked for hours while her husband slept in the next room. When her shifts at the diner got tough, I offered to let her crash on my couch. "You're exhausted," I said. "Don't drive tired." She only took me up on it once, or so I thought. My husband, Derek, had even commented once. "That woman's going through hell," he said. "You're a saint for helping her." And I believed him. I was proud that we, as a couple, could be there for someone in crisis. That's who we were. That's who I thought we were. Now, all of that felt like a sick joke. As I sat there, I kept replaying old moments in my mind. Naomi laughing with Derek in the kitchen, brushing crumbs off his shirt like it was nothing. Her texting during our movie nights, claiming it was just her sister. Derek's sudden interest in fixing up the upstairs unit, even though it had been empty for months. I had brushed those things off. That's what trust does. It teaches you to silence your instincts. I had trained myself to believe in their goodness. And now, sitting in the silence of my room, I felt that belief shatter. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash something. But I couldn't move. All I could do was sit there, frozen by the weight of a truth I hadn't asked for. The woman I had held up when she was at her lowest had climbed into my bed with my husband. And somehow, that realization didn't just hurt. It hollowed me out. Looking back, the signs were there, hiding in plain sight. But when you love someone, your mind works overtime to keep you blind. The first crack came one Sunday morning. Naomi had shown up with blueberry muffins, still warm, still smug. "Just wanted to say thank you again, Tara," she said with that soft, tragic smile of hers. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Derek was already up, freshly showered. He looked nervous. He barely met my eyes and wouldn't touch the coffee I'd made, his favorite. Naomi, on the other hand, looked unusually bright-eyed for someone supposedly exhausted from caregiving. I chalked it up to awkwardness. Maybe he felt weird having her around. Maybe she was just putting on a brave face. That's what I told myself. But the next week, I noticed Naomi had been visiting more often, when I wasn't home. She said she'd just stopped by to leave a thank you card, or drop off Eric's extra meds. Sweet gestures, normal, on the surface, but they started piling up. One afternoon, I found her favorite brand of kombucha in our fridge. Derek doesn't drink that stuff. I definitely hadn't bought it. I asked him about it casually. He shrugged, said maybe I got it and forgot. That's when I felt the first chill creep in. Then there were the texts. Derek had changed his phone password for the first time in years. I noticed it while he was in the shower, and his phone buzzed on the nightstand. The screen lit up with a message that read, "I'm downstairs." Downstairs? Our duplex only had 2 units, us and the one above, which had been empty, or so I thought. But 3 days earlier, Naomi had mentioned she was staying somewhere nearby for a while to be closer to Eric's new rehab facility. I didn't connect the dots right away, until I heard footsteps above me that night. Quiet, familiar, and far too late for a vacant unit. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was stressed, overtired. But when I heard Derek's laugh echo from the upstairs hallway, when he was supposed to be out for groceries, that's when I knew. Something was off. Very off. For days, I lived in a fog. I still got up, still went to work, still smiled at patients and signed charts like nothing was wrong. But inside, I was unraveling. I kept replaying that text. "I'm downstairs," her voice echoing in my kitchen. Derek's laugh upstairs. The necklace. I started questioning everything. Every memory, every hug, every kiss. Did he hold me the same way he held her? Did he whisper the same things to her when I was working nights? Had I ever really known the man I married? It was like waking up in someone else's life. One where nothing was solid. Not my marriage, not my home, not even my identity. I was no longer Tara, the loyal wife and caregiver. I was a woman living in a lie. I began watching Derek closer. How long he lingered in the bathroom. How fast he grabbed his phone when it buzzed. How he suddenly needed space when I tried to talk. I stopped sleeping. I'd lie in bed, wide awake, staring at the ceiling, listening for footsteps upstairs, trying to tell myself I was imagining things. But the doubt was louder than anything I could silence. I'd go from numb to furious in seconds. I once found myself scrubbing the kitchen counter so hard, I tore the skin on my knuckles. I didn't feel it until I saw the blood. Another night, I burst into tears while folding laundry, because I found a pair of socks that weren't mine or Derek's. They were small, women's size, Naomi's size. My head spun. Was she doing her laundry in my machine now? Was she already living here in the spaces I hadn't noticed? The worst part wasn't the betrayal. It was the not knowing, the maybe, the guessing. I couldn't confront him yet. I needed proof, solid, undeniable truth, because part of me still clung to the hope that I was wrong, that I was just paranoid and broken and too tired to think straight. But that hope? It was fading fast. And I realized I wasn't just losing my husband, I was losing myself. I always thought of myself as calm and level-headed, the kind of person who thinks before she speaks, waits for facts, avoids drama. But this wasn't about drama. This was about my life, and it was being rewritten behind my back. So I did what any woman would do when her heart's been broken, but her mind refuses to be gaslit. I started digging. The first thing I did was check our home's smart security system. We had cameras at the front and back doors, and a log of every time someone used the digital keypad to enter. I had never bothered looking at it before. That night, I sat down at the dining table, logged into the portal, and pulled up the past 3 weeks. My stomach turned. There were multiple entries labeled back door, unrecognized code used, entry granted. Always between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., always on the nights I worked the overnight shift at the hospital. I cross-referenced those timestamps with Derek's supposed evening jogs. He was never out jogging, he was home, with her. The final confirmation came 2 days later. I bought a mini hidden camera. It looked like a USB charger and worked with a mobile app. I plugged it into an outlet across from our bedroom, set it to motion detect mode, and left for my shift like usual. I couldn't sleep at the hospital that night, so around 1 a.m., I opened the app. The motion alert had triggered. My heart thundered as the footage loaded. There she was, Naomi, letting herself in through the back door, no hesitation, wearing a hoodie and yoga pants. She dropped her bag on my kitchen counter like she lived there. And then Derek appeared, shirtless. He smiled when he saw her. They kissed. Not like two people sneaking around, but like a couple who had done this 100 times before. She took off her shoes. He handed her a glass of wine. They walked into our bedroom, and the door closed. I dropped the phone. For a moment I couldn't breathe. The air felt thick. My skin burned. My ears rang. But I didn't cry. Not this time. Because now, it wasn't just suspicion. It wasn't a feeling. It wasn't paranoia. It was real. It was happening. And I had it on camera. I didn't text him. I didn't call her. I didn't scream or throw dishes. I just sat there, still as stone, with the video playing on loop in my lap. And in that moment, something in me shifted. The version of me who would have begged for answers or explanations? She was gone. I didn't want an apology. I wanted justice, and I was going to deliver it myself. After watching Naomi walk into my home like she owned it, I thought I'd hit the ceiling of betrayal. I was wrong. Because the deeper I looked, the more layers I uncovered, each one more disgusting than the last. I pulled bank statements next. I had always managed the bills, but recently Derek had insisted on taking some weight off my shoulders. Sweet, right? No, strategic. There were Venmo payments labeled upstairs rent that I never authorized. Hundreds of dollars sent to an account under Naomi's maiden name. She was renting the unit above us. Derek had moved her in. He was using our money to pay her rent. Our home, once my sanctuary, had become their playground. I combed through old texts, receipts, even garbage bags. I found used wine glasses in the dishwasher on days I was gone. Notes in Derek's handwriting with inside jokes I didn't understand. A takeout receipt from a sushi place Naomi once told me was way out of her budget. And then came the photos. One night, while Derek slept, I took his phone and airdropped everything to mine. I told myself I wouldn't look through it, that I already had enough. But curiosity is cruel when mixed with pain. There were selfies, her, in my robe, him, lying next to her on our sheets. One video of them dancing in the living room while a record played, the same song Derek and I had danced to on our wedding night. It broke me, but it also hardened me. This wasn't just cheating, this was theft. Of time, of energy, of trust. I hadn't just been cheated on, I had been used. Used for my kindness, for my empathy, for my stupid willingness to help people at their lowest. I wanted to scream, burn the house down, confront them both with fists and fire. But instead, I saved everything. The photos, the footage, the texts, the receipts. I put it all in a folder on my desktop labeled Truth. I wasn't ready to strike yet, not until it hurt them as much as it hurt me. I needed a plan. I needed a stage, and I knew exactly where I'd build it. Because if there's one thing Derek and Naomi both loved more than sneaking around, it was being seen as good people. They were about to get exactly what they wanted, a very public audience. If you've ever been betrayed by the people you trusted the most, you know there's a line. Once it's crossed, you're never the same. What would you do with the truth? Me? I was about to turn it into the sharpest weapon I had. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I wasn't going to throw things. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to let them dig their own grave and hand them the shovel with a smile. First, I played dumb. I smiled at Derek, kissed him goodnight, asked him how his runs were going. He answered so casually, so confidently, it made me sick, and yet somehow gave me power, because he had no idea. None. Next, I messaged Naomi. I texted her a photo of a new organic lotion I saw at the store. Said, "Saw this and thought of you. Want me to pick one up?" She replied, "OMG, you're the sweetest. I swear you're the only one who checks on me." I wanted to vomit. Instead, I double-tapped with a heart. That night, I lay awake. Not from pain, but from planning. If I just exposed them, it would be a scandal, a drama, a mess that would blow up fast and fade even faster. No, I needed something unforgettable, public, strategic. And that's when the idea came. There was a small community fundraiser coming up, an annual event I had helped organize in the past. This year, I volunteered again. Theme: Appreciating Caregivers and Community Heroes. Perfect. I made sure Derek was nominated as a devoted husband. I submitted Naomi as a brave survivor who had overcome hardship after her husband's accident. Everyone clapped. No one knew. Yet, I helped design the program, slipped in a 10-minute thank you segment near the end, offered to run the AV equipment. Everyone said, "Tara, you're amazing." If only they knew how amazing I was about to be. Meanwhile, I kept gathering. I upgraded the footage, edited the clips, blurred sensitive areas, sharpened their faces. I created a silent montage, timestamps, clips of her walking in, him greeting her, the two of them together, smiling, kissing, disappearing into my room. I paired it with music, not dramatic, not angry, just heartbreakingly calm. A quiet piano piece, the kind they use in memorial videos. And then, I waited. Every time Derek laughed at the dinner table, every time Naomi texted me thank you, I smiled back, while saving another file to the folder labeled, Goodbye. They didn't know the version of me they'd created. I wasn't the broken wife anymore. I wasn't the caregiver, the helper, the fool. I was the storm they didn't see coming. And I wasn't finished. The venue was a local community hall. White walls, cheap chairs, a dusty podium no one really used unless someone died or won a raffle. But for me, that place was about to become a stage. Not for celebration, for exposure. I arrived early, dressed in calm beige and a practiced smile. I shook hands, set up the AV system, helped pin name tags. Nobody suspected a thing. I was the dependable Tara, the good wife, the caregiver who never asked for anything. I had brought snacks, printed programs, and preloaded my thank you montage into the laptop. File name, Final Tribute, MP4. Derek arrived 20 minutes late. Naomi came 5 minutes after that. They hugged in front of everyone. "She's like family now," he told someone. "She helped me survive," Naomi whispered to another. "I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood." People clapped when I gave a short welcome. I smiled when Naomi was called up to speak. She stood there, eyes shimmering like she was holding back tears, and said, "I would have never made it without my neighbor. She's like a sister, a light in the darkness. Tara, thank you for seeing me when I was invisible." I applauded with everyone else. I even stood for her. Then it was Derek's turn. He went up with that fake humble look he always wore when he wanted attention without asking for it directly. He said, "I'm not a hero. I just did what any husband would do. Stand by the woman he loves. I'm lucky to be loved back. I really am." And right there, I knew. They weren't just cheating. They were proud of it. They felt safe. Safe because they thought I was too weak to fight back. But I wasn't weak. I was ready. I stepped onto the stage and tapped the mic. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't crack. Before we wrap up, I just want to say a few words to everyone here, not just as a caregiver, but as someone who's learned what love really means. The room went quiet. I hit play. At first, people weren't sure what they were watching. The video opened with piano music, a title card, "To the ones who gave everything and were repaid with silence." Then the footage began. A timestamp, midnight, the back door, Naomi entering, Derek meeting her, them kissing, laughter, gasps, whispers. Someone said, "Oh my God." I kept my eyes locked on the screen. Clip after clip, him handing her wine, her wearing my robe, both of them in my kitchen. And finally, the shot of them disappearing into my bedroom, closing the door behind them. Silence. Then murmurs. Then shifting in seats. Naomi stood frozen, hand over her mouth. Derek tried to move, maybe to stop the video, but it was too late. Everyone had already seen it. Everyone already knew. I closed the laptop slowly, looked at both of them, and said calmly, "I spent months caring for your husband. Grocery runs, doctor calls, support, kindness, and this is how you thanked me." Dead silence. No one clapped, no one defended them, and for once, they were the ones who couldn't look me in the eye. I stepped down from the stage. My work was done. But their humiliation? It was just beginning. The room emptied faster than I expected. No one looked at me, but even fewer looked at them. Derek stayed frozen in place, staring at the closed laptop like it had personally betrayed him. Naomi had already bolted halfway through the footage, one hand covering her face, the other clutching her purse like it held her last ounce of dignity. I didn't chase. I didn't explain. The truth didn't need footnotes. By the time I got home, the silence was sweeter than any apology they could have offered. No Derek, no Naomi, just me, and the echo of justice finally served. But it didn't end there. I wasn't done. First, I uploaded the video. Not the full version, but a clean-cut, anonymous version with faces blurred and identifying details stripped. Title: The Caregiver's Betrayal. a true story of infidelity and exploitation. It went viral within days. Comments poured in. People shared their own stories of betrayal, of being used, of trusting too much. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. Then, I followed the money. Remember that community fundraiser? The one where Derek and Naomi were praised for their resilience? Well, I'd handled the donations. I had every name, every transaction, so I issued refunds, except for one batch. The contributions I had personally matched from my own account. That money? I sent it to a verified nonprofit that supported real caregivers, ones working 2 jobs, raising kids, dealing with trauma, not using it as a cover for hotel meetups. The organization reached out publicly, thanked me, tagged my new handle, @thecaregiver_unmasked. My inbox flooded, not with pity, with respect. Derek? He tried to talk, sent a few texts, then long emails, then voicemails. None of them included the words, sorry, just, I didn't mean for it to go that far. You weren't there emotionally. She needed someone and so did I. I didn't respond. He moved out 2 weeks later. Last I heard, he was crashing on a friend's couch, because Naomi's lease was terminated by the landlord once he saw that video. Apparently, no drama had been in her contract. Oops. And Naomi? She tried to post a statement online, tried to make herself the victim. It backfired. People recognized her handwriting from the thank you notes she'd sent me. Her lies crumbled. Her account went private. She never resurfaced. And me? I started a YouTube channel. Not for revenge, for truth. I called it Behind the Kindness. A space for people like me, who gave too much, trusted too deeply, and got burned for it. But instead of hiding, we shared. We named the manipulation. We took our power back, one story at a time. Sometimes the loudest justice isn't rage. It's calm, calculated, and delivered with a smile. Because nothing destroys a liar faster than someone they thought was too kind to fight back. I used to think kindness was my weakness, that being generous, patient, forgiving, meant being a doormat. But now I know, kindness is only a weakness when you give it to people who treat it like a weapon. I gave Naomi my time, my energy, my support when she was at rock bottom. I gave Derek my loyalty, my trust, my whole life, without question. And both of them took what I gave and stabbed me with it. But here's what they didn't expect: that underneath the caregiver, the housewife, the soft-hearted one, was someone who could stand up, speak out, and burn everything down without ever raising her voice. This story isn't just about infidelity. It's about clarity, about realizing that betrayal doesn't always come with red flags. Sometimes it wears a smile, says thank you, even calls you family. But masks always slip, and when they do, what you do next, that's what defines you. I chose not to sink. I chose not to scream. I chose to rise, smarter, sharper, unapologetically aware. So if you've ever been used, betrayed, or made to feel small by people you once loved, know this: you are not weak for loving, you are not stupid for trusting, but you are responsible for what you do once you see the truth. Don't chase closure, create it. Don't wait for karma, be it. And above all, never let someone mistake your silence for permission. This was my story, but maybe it's yours too. And if it is, welcome. You're not alone anymore.